Ooh. Um, so as Angie and Jessica mentioned, we can leave things open for questions. We're going to be covering a lot of material, but kind of a shallow amount of each one. So we could probably have an hour presentation on each slide, but we're not going to do that. So we can follow up with more, if you have more in-depth questions later on or want to know more about something, we're happy to go through it. Um, so yeah, we're really excited to be here. We MAP is really unique. We think we're pretty unique. We're founded by Steve and Susan Zimmerman in 1988, and they became really good friends with Dr. Cindy Bush, who shared with them what aphasia is and what MnCAN does for people. And so we love being able to support MnCAN financially and now with the educational content. Um, we're a comprehensive fee-only planning firm, and one of our core values is helping, and we have an attitude of service. We encourage growth in skill and ability, and to achieve the best outcomes and experience for our clients.
Mm.
As Becky mentioned, she's one of the partners. We're on our second generation of owners, and we'll continue to support Steve and Susan's legacy by supporting organizations like MnCAN.
Mm.
So we can go to the next slide. Becky's running the show. Um, so often when we think of financial planning, some things come to mind. So I first want to address what we are not. We're not salespeople who sell insurance or investment products, and we do not believe in one size fits all advice.
Mm.
We also never dictate how clients should spend or track their money. We're fiduciaries who are required to act in the best interests of our clients. How do we determine what is the best path for each client? It really involves partnering with them and spending a lot of time with them and discussing all their options. We have found that each client and family is really, really unique when it comes to their finances because of their motivations and overall goals. We spend a lot of time talking about the big picture, who they are and where they are emotionally, financially, and we're able to deliver the comprehensive financial planning services once we get to know who they are. We help organize their finances, clarify and calculate what it takes to fund their goals, and get the money in the right places to achieve those goals. We choose to look at both the practical and emotional sides of money because both matter deeply. We feel lucky to be able to partner with clients and walking them through how to think about money decisions and how to fund structure during times that can feel really uncertain or emotional.
Mm.
In many cases, after exploring all the options, we actually find that the math answer to a client's concern or question is not always the right answer for them. And we love working at math because we're able to really focus on each person and each family unit as a whole. Our firm's name embodies what we give to clients: mindful asset planning. Being mindful in financial planning means both being aware and attentive. We help our clients grow in their awareness in several categories and includes self-awareness, financial literacy, and having a healthy decision-making process when it comes to their money. As awareness grows, it's vitally important to attend to it. Attend meaning to give care or minister to. We help attend financial decisions so that important considerations are not neglected, but rather integrated into all of the recommendations and advice that we provide. We also take into account the human assets, which are the non-financial matters that are a critical component of lifelong planning. They include your values, talents, interests, important relationship, and what would bring you peace of mind. Your values and circumstances must be understood and integrated into all your money choices for a maximum positive impact. In our time together, we're going to move through 6 main areas. So here's where we're going. One is acknowledging what you're going through, whether you're a person affected by aphasia or caring for someone who is. Understanding how money thoughts differ between two people in that possible relationship. How many choices have been made or are being made, whether in the past, present, or set for the future. Knowing your numbers, the amount of money flowing in and out of these accounts each month. Knowing your policies like health insurance, disability, and long-term care. And we're going to end with a framework called NEAR, a way to move from surviving to rebuilding. So as I mentioned before, we could probably spend an hour on each one of
Mhm.
these. Um, so please let us know if you would like to go more in depth. If not during this presentation, we're happy to talk to people offline too.
Okay.
So first, let's start right where we are. Aphasia, whether caused by a stroke, injury, or another condition, changes how people communicate, but also changes how life feels. Becky and I don't have personal ties to aphasia, but have been able to learn so much through the events at MnCAN and learning from Jessica and Angie. One thing we've heard from many families is that they experience a deep sense of grief after the diagnosis. Grief is not about words or communication, it's about identity, independence, and roles that suddenly shift. So let's talk about what that grief can look like and what can help. You may already be familiar with the stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. In real life, those don't come in a straight line. They're not neat or tidy, and they don't happen in order. Some days you may feel strong and calm, the next you may feel frustrated or sad again. Both people with aphasia and their care partners grieve, but sometimes in different ways and at different times, and that's okay. There's no right way to grieve. The key is to notice where you are and give yourself grace. In addition to the grief related to the diagnosis, there may be additional grief from things that the diagnosis impacts. That might be a loss of dreams, how you initially pictured retirement. Perhaps you had an early retirement that you didn't expect. Um, Maybe you hadn't saved enough for the retirement you wanted. Maybe the medical costs are higher than you thought. Maybe the trip around the world that you had planned for years now feels really daunting and stressful. Aphasia, especially early on, brings new kinds of stress. Daily tasks take more energy. There's often more to manage. The appointments and paperwork can feel endless. Money tasks like paying bills or managing insurance claims and phone calls can suddenly feel really heavy or confusing. Money decisions that once felt simple may feel complex or even emotional. And all that's normal. These are all new challenges. If you are unable to take care of your financial life or make your health preferences known, someone else could be named to act on your behalf. There are legal documents that would need to be in place for that, which could add another layer of stress if those are not already thought through or documented. And money stress can amplify the emotional load that you're already carrying. When we are aware and understand our challenges, we can begin to work around them. So what helps? Finding the balance. Some of this you may have heard before: simple moments, breathing exercises, short walks, listening to music, connecting with support groups. We do not consider these luxuries. These are powerful tools.
Mhm.
These small habits can calm the mind and help with clear decision making later. Because when you feel calm, you can think more clearly and make better choices around things like money. And that's where financial teamwork can come into play. Money conversations can be sensitive even at the best of times, but they are great tools for financial health, and giving space for people to express themselves in their own ways is essential. With financial teamwork, you should check in often with each other. Do things make sense? Does this match what you were thinking or hoping for? Maybe one person in the partnership likes to plan ahead and the other prefers to take things day by day. Maybe one used to manage the finances and pay all the bills, and now the other person has to learn really quickly how to do that. And one person um, may manage that role one way, but someone else prefers a different system. Acknowledging if or how money dynamic in that relationship has changed is a great step towards moving towards what's going to work for you now. Old money habits just may not fit those new realities.
Mhm.
If paying bills used to be done by one person, now it might need to be shared or even automated. All that's okay. Um, some changes in systems may reduce stress, and others help preserve energy for other areas in life. I'm going to take a quick pause here if there's any questions about anything that I kind of have mentioned so far.
Okay.
I'm going to keep going then and look at yeah, so really just encouraging to talk through with a care partner what feels comfortable to you, what would you like to still be involved with, what would make things easier. The goal here is to create a shared understanding and get a sense for where everybody is. So now I want to look at how decisions are emotional choices and not just based in the numbers. Everyone has a relationship with money shaped by their life experiences, upbringing, and certain circumstances. The way you feel about money at your core is likely not changed by an aphasia diagnosis. If you love paying down debt or avoiding debt, if you love to shop, if you like to keep a tight grip on every dollar going in and out, those things will not change just because of aphasia. However, your roles and responsibilities may be quite different now that aphasia has entered the picture. As I mentioned, um, the person with aphasia and their caregiver may think about money very differently. They each may have money different preferences and styles when it comes to making choices and taking care of the money tasks. Oh, there's someone in the waiting room. We should let them in. Um, we use a framework that was developed by our co-founder, Susan Zimmerman, that helps look at the historic styles and preferences when making money-related decisions. We call these our money motives, and we don't like to label our money motives as good or bad, but we do have kind of a cute name for the kind of bad side, and we call them rascals. I'm going to show, there's pictures on the next slide of what our money rascals are. And this is another one I could easily talk for an hour on money rascals. Um, they each have cutesy little nicknames. But I want you to reflect, have you ever made a money decision just because it felt good? Like buying something nice for yourself or paying down a debt that bothers you? Money motives and money rascals are a part of each one of us. They are habitual patterns that define your money personality, and your money personality has driven the motivations and actions you've historically taken in your financial life. When you reflect and discover your most dominant internal drivers, it helps you understand and manage your emotions and thoughts more effectively. The key is to be aware of your money motives and to watch your money rascals because they may cause mischief if they're overly dominant. So being aware if you're of your money motive and rascals helps you make more easily make adjustments as you see fit. The money motives and rascals are for the most part on autopilot for a good extent of our financial life, and that may have served us well, not so well, or some a little bit of each. This may also be why you might have trouble understanding the decisions of a partner. If one person has one money style and the other person has another, it's like speaking two different languages and you just don't quite see eye to eye on why someone would make the decisions. And the answer is because the rascal's running the show. I'm happy to talk more about the rascals as if people have questions on them. Um, but I could spend a lot of time. So I'm going to skip going through each one for now, but happy to circle back. We also have our assessment available. We can send out a link if people are curious about their partner's money motives. So we can move on. There we go. So as many of our money decisions are based on our money motives or potentially our rascals, we have found it helpful, especially with new clients, to help them categorize their spending into three categories: past, present, and future. When you gain consciousness or awareness around the meaning and messages about money that you've received earlier in life, you can make connections between the past and present choices to guide optimal outcomes in the future. So past spending is exactly what it sounds like, spending choices you've already made in the past, which has led you to where you are today. You may or may not still be paying for it. Think about things like your home or your car, any other debt that you might have, or it might be things that you own outright. Some of that still works. Some of it might need a review. And if something wasn't perfect, you just got to let that go. You made the best decision you could at the time, and you can decide how to adjust now. Present spending, on the other hand, is the choices that you make in every given day. Every time you decide to swipe your credit card or debit card or to hand over cash. And then future spending, of course, is looking ahead and setting aside money for the future. This could be a holiday, vacation, retirement, or even for the next generation. I'm looking at you, Henry. Um, some might change, and so what things might change in the future and what might be important. The goal here is to prepare for ourselves and give enough flexibility for the future. The best way to pave the way for stability, though, is to know your numbers. And this is the part where we kind of roll up our sleeves and get practical. So I guess before I dive in, I'm going to pause here to see if there's any other questions about some of the rascals or the other more emotional sides of money that I just went through.
I just have a comment that when you were talking about the rascals, it was funny because I could see like my husband and myself. My husband forgets about bills. Like he's good with money, but like since we got married, if I don't pay the bills, he literally puts it out of sight and out of mind, and that took me time to figure out. Um, but he makes other financial like smart decisions. So it's just interesting when you listed all those that I could identify many parts in our relationship. So
Yeah, we like meeting with clients and talking through the rascals after we look at their assessment. And there's always a spouse who's like, "Oh, that's why you do that thing."
yeah,
So
interesting.
very interesting. Yeah.
I was going to say, can everybody hear me?
Yep,
Yeah, we
we can
can,
hear you,
Barbara.
Okay,
Kathy.
great.
Or
Yeah, that's
Kathy.
Kathy St. Giacomo. Jim's in the kitchen. But we're looking at our health insurance for next year, and Jim is on Medicare, right? And we're not going to change his policy. But mine was very expensive this year. I'm trying to get a lower one, but the unknown is there's one prescription I take, and I tried to call the insurance company and ask them, what would I have to pay? And obviously, they said everything until you meet your deductible. So then I'm like, how do I know what that cost would be? That's like to me. So I just Googled it and found an average price, but it's rough when you don't know some numbers. I like looking at the numbers.
Yeah, so do
But
we.
anyway, that's my recent problem.
Yeah. Well, that fits really well into kind of the next transition. Thank you for sharing that, Kathy. Um, yeah, so this next part is really all about getting practical. Trying to move things on my screen here. Um, so knowing your numbers, knowing what's going in, what's going out. This can be as simple as a blank sheet of paper, or it can be complex software, diagrams. Becky and I are very partial to spreadsheets, which is
Mhm.
says more about us than anything else. Um, and perhaps before your aphasia diagnosis, perhaps this is something that you love to do, but now tracking the budget is a lot harder and it's being passed on to your care partner, or perhaps it's neglected altogether. So we wanted to walk through some basics. We're happy to elaborate on number tracking. Just let us know. We'd be more than happy to give some guidance or talk about number tracking all day. Um, So a great place to start is just to see what money came in and what money went out of your bank account. Earned income, gifts given or received, your social security, your pension, looking at things that are going out, utility bills, medical expenses, therapy costs, and then add everything up. Was it positive or negative? By how much for that month? Next, consider what only comes up once or twice a year. Maybe that's a car or life insurance premium or property tax, something that didn't apply next month or last month. Adding the next layer of unexpected things that might come up in the next 12 months. Knowing how much money arrives each month and what will be needed for the next month or the month after that helps reduce some of the anxiety around money. You feel secure in the day to day. So as I mentioned, we have, if you are a caregiver who suddenly finds yourselves in charge of the day to day, We do have some recommendations and apps and tools that many of our clients have found to be effective and helpful, especially if spreadsheets are not part of your love language, like they are for me and Becky. Um, so please let us know if you'd like to talk more about that. Um, but to Kathy's point, I do want to jump into knowing your policies. Insurance is a, a big topic of conversation, definitely one that we could dive into. Um, so we're going to kind of look at we kind of highlighted three main policies: health, disability, and long-term care. For all of these, knowing your deductible and your out-of-pocket limits for your health insurance plan is really important. Your deductible is what you must pay before insurance starts covering the cost, while out-of-pocket maximums is what you'll pay at most in a year for your covered services. Um, so the deductible should be listed somewhere in your policy documents, or you could call the number on the back of your card and try to find out that way too. But it should be somewhere kind of hidden in plain sight in the paperwork. Um, but knowing these two numbers, the out of pocket and the deductible, helps plan for medical costs that may have already occurred or may still be ahead. So writing down those numbers and in a place where you can see them every day, or add them to the know your numbers page that we know you guys are going to start as soon as this presentation ends. Um, if you find that your medical costs exceed a certain amount of your income, you might actually be able to deduct those on your tax return. So that's something that you might want to track. And if you use tax planning software, make sure you enter those or talk to your accountant or whoever prepares your taxes. Um, if you have disability coverage, either through work or a private plan, you can check to see what this covers and find out when the benefits would start and how long they would last. This income could be a really critical part of stability during a recovery or an adjustment phase after a disability. And finally, if you have a long-term care policy or life insurance policy with this feature, learn what triggers it. For example, if you needed help with daily activities. If you don't have coverage that share in the cost of long-term care, you can explore other ways to prepare, either with your own resources or by using Medicaid if your resources are depleted. So I just talked about budgets and insurance, so two big policies or two big topics. I'm gonna pause here if anyone had any thoughts or questions about those. Okay.
What was could you go back to the other page for a second, Rachel?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh, isn't there a way to protect your assets from the nursing homes? I've heard people say this, and there's like a look back period of 5 years, but I don't remember what it was, and I haven't, if one of us needed to go in a nursing home, do you know how you do that?
Yeah, there's a couple different versions that might have some other limitations. You might be able to prevent it from paying for nursing care, but you might also have some other limitations around it. One example might be a life insurance policy, or another example might be gifting it directly to children or to someone else. And that's the 5-year look back period that you were
So
referencing, Kathy.
you put it in your children's names.
Correct.
Is that what
And
you
so
do?
if you've done that, if you need nursing care within 5 years of that date, then your children would be responsible for essentially paying that money over to the community that you're living in.
But then they would have to pay, if you gift it to them, then they'd have to
They would still
pay.
have to pay for the care if it's within the last 5 years that you gave it to them.
Right. Oh, I meant if you gift it to them, do they have to then be responsible for it and pay mortgage? And they're the ones that would have to, like, if you gift them your house,
Mm.
would they have to then?
Potentially. I mean, that would be part of the structure and how you're giving it to them, but typically with a gift, you don't really get to have a say in how they're using the money after the fact.
Right, right. Okay.
There's challenges with those strategies.
Although, Becky, correct me if I'm wrong, but the primary residence is typically protected from Medicaid.
Correct. If you own the home, and you can keep your home and one vehicle and have a certain amount of income coming in and a certain level of assets, it's something like $150,000 that would be protected from needing to be used prior to Medicaid kicking in and covering those costs for you.
Maybe that was the way, putting it in your kids' names. I don't remember. I don't know if I knew. I had just recently heard of it. So, okay.
Yeah.
Is it worth to get long-term care insurance? Do you think?
It can be, depending on how much you have for resources and if your interest is trying to protect them for the next generation or to help ensure that you have access to a higher level of care. But it is mostly a cost sharing mechanism right now. The products that are available on the market right now are going to only pay for a certain portion of it. It's not 100% typically. So it depends on how soon you get it and how long you pay for that policy before it might be triggered. And even if it is triggered, you might not need care for longer than an average of 3 years. So trying to figure out how that fits in with your resources that you already have and kind of running the numbers and assessing the risk.
Can I ask you to repeat the piece that you had said right before this about like the house and you could have the $150? I guess I'm specifically, and I think we're kind of talking about that senior waiver drawdown. And so you had noted the house doesn't get included in that, but that's not an issue for us. But what about like an annuity? Is that actually included in that, or does that need to be drawn down also?
It may be needing to draw down to a certain dollar amount. We could share the actual number, the figure after this meeting with everyone. I believe it's something like $154,000.
Okay.
So your house, a vehicle, that level of money, and then money coming in every month for the well spouse, there's a certain threshold, and then a certain threshold if there's a partner who doesn't need care, that their income, Social Security, pension, for example, could, a minimum that they get to keep. Yeah, good question. We can share that information.
Yeah, and I think Becky and Rachel, this conversation, I know my husband and I have been chatting with both of our parents who are aging, and just I think this is an area where we could ask a million questions. So if there's any, handouts or things that we can send out on your behalf later too, we're happy to do that because I think this will be a very common topic.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay.
Anything else before I move on? We only have a few slides left, so there's time for questions if people need them. I can keep going and we can talk about it. Talk about it when we get there. So now that we've looked at numbers and policies, we're going to bring it all together with one simple framework that you can use whenever life feels uncertain. At MAP, we're very fond of acronyms, a carryover from our time with Susan Zimmerman. MAP is also an acronym, and she came up with the NEAR framework. NEAR stands for numb, emotional, adjusting, and rebuilding. And we use this to remind ourselves that of the journey we may go through after a life-changing event, like an aphasia diagnosis, or caring for someone who has aphasia. At first, people may feel numb, shocked, unsure of where to start. The world feels different, and you just try to keep things going. At this stage, focus on the basics and those around you for help. Paying bills, managing essentials, and rest.
Mm.
Emotional. At any point, other feelings may surface: sadness, anger, fear. The unknowns about things like health and wealth may trigger deeper emotions, and that's okay. We encourage you to give yourself grace to feel and grieve and revisit your goals gently. Over time, you and others may begin adjusting. You may find ways to communicate, new systems to stay organized, and new routines for you and your family that seem to work well. And finally, rebuilding. You see what's possible again. This is when new habits and confidence take root. You find support in other people and communities like MnCAN to regain control. Aphasia changes communication, but not your ability to plan, to make choices, to love, or live meaningfully. As we close, here's our encouragement for you. This week, either before or after Thanksgiving dinner, take one small financial step. Consider what goals matter most right now. Maybe it's simplifying the way that money is moving around. Maybe it's updating your legal documents. Maybe it's planning for care needs. So maybe the first step is just printing your bank statements and grabbing a highlighter, or determining the best way for you to track your monthly expenses. Maybe it's gathering your insurance documents, or setting up a joint meeting with your partner or caregiver or support person. Figure out whatever stuff you want to work on and then take action.
Yeah.
So we know that you guys can do it, and we have been so encouraged by this group and what we have seen through MnCAN events. And thank you so much for allowing us to be here today and to share our time and passion with you. And yeah, if time allows, time allows, we have 20 more minutes. Feel free to ask us any questions, or if you want us to elaborate on any of the topics, we're here.